Thanks for joining us here on the Market Day Report on a Monday. I'm Marlon Bowling with you. We're going to take a look at your opening futures trade on the grain and the livestock. Wanted to get you up to speed. We did have an overnight announcement from USDA. It was another sale of soybeans. Let's take a look at what it was this time. Well, as we go to the big board, they announced it just a few moments ago, and this time around, 240,000 tons of soybeans. It was sold to unknown destinations, and it was earmarked for this current marketing year of 2016 and 2017. So just like last week, we started out the first couple of days of the week with very strong overnight export sales on the soybeans. Let's bring in our analyst on this segment here. It's Dewey Strickler of AgWatch Market Advisors in Franklin, Kentucky. And Dewey, thanks for joining us as we kick off a trading week here. A pretty good overnight sale. Let's take a look and see if it's helping the markets out at all on the futures open here. We'll bring in the corn and soybean futures and take a quick look here. In the corn market, as we get things off and running here this morning, we'll see if we're seeing the overnight pressure that we saw a few hours ago. Yep, we are. December down 3 at 333.5. March down 2 3/4 at 343.5. And then if we look at the soybeans where we did have that overnight sale reported, we have November down just one tick at 954 3/4. January unchanged at 961. So Dewey, the market seems to be taking this with a yawn this morning with that significant sale overnight of soybeans. So is the harvest pressure or the impending harvest pressure, once this frontal system goes through, trumping everything else, where maybe it's going to keep the keep the bulls at bay for the time being?
Well, I think that's exactly right, Marlon. You mentioned also that we had some sales announced last week, and trade's just generally sort of sloughing them off here right now. Everybody's pretty well focused here on harvest activity, and we're hearing some really fantastic yields being reported in soybeans. I've heard of a few exceptions. If we're looking at beans, maybe as many as 90 bushels to the acre there. So, once that circulates throughout the media circles and so forth, you kind of look at the exports, and we'll be looking at them once the harvest is complete, a little more depth. But right now, everything is still focused here on the supply situation.
I know I was driving through your part of the country there over the weekend, and it seemed to me like, I would say almost half of the corn was probably already out at this point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A lot of guys, it's here it is, almost we're getting close to October 1st, and it seems like everybody's got that one last field of corn to get out, and that's kind of where we are.
All right. So from what you hear from people in different parts of the country, we're just kind of getting into full swing here in the corn harvest, but we really had a damper put on it here in the last few days from heavy rains over much of the Corn Belt. Sounds like after this frontal system goes through, though, things will cool down but dry out for at least maybe a week or two. So do you think that is just something that's going to weigh on these futures, and it's going to take something extraordinary to make them bounce up here in the next couple of weeks, or not?
I think that's a good part of it. I think also traders has in the back of their mind about the grain stocks report that's going to be coming out here later this week. So there's a little bit of a cautious attitude toward it. But I think really right now we're looking, once this little shower activity gets past us, we're looking pretty well harvest going full throttle.
That's a good point. That report that Dewey was talking about is the quarterly grain stocks report, and that does come out Friday. That'll be out at 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time on Friday during the trading session, but it comes out this time with the small grain summary report as well, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Dewey, I want to run through the wheat prices here real quickly, and then I'll bring you back here. We'll talk a little livestock. On the wheat, we have December Chicago wheat seeing some pressure right now. It was fairly flat overnight. Now we're down 5.5 at 399 1/4. That's on the low of the trading range here. March down 5 3/4. Kansas City, we have December over there, down 6 1/4 now all of a sudden at 415 1/4. And in the Minneapolis spring wheat trade, we have December down 5 3/4 at 498. Somebody pulled the rug out from under this wheat market here in the first few minutes of trade. The cotton market, as we head into the break here, Dewey, we have December now 36 points higher at 70.43 cents per pound. We'll be back talking with Dewey Strickler, this time about livestock, when we come back right after this. Back with you here on the Market Day Report. We're talking right now with Dewey Strickler of AgWatch Market Advisors in Franklin, Kentucky. We want to go through the cattle on feed numbers that came out. They came out from USDA right after the markets closed Friday afternoon. 2 p.m. Central Time is when they're released. Now, here's a look at the numbers that we had. On feed, officially now 101% as of September 1st. That's 101% of a year ago at this time. And that was about as expected. Placements 115% were a little heavy, about 2 points above the average trade guess. Marketing is at 118%, would be about 1 point above the average trade guess there as well. Cold storage numbers, we reviewed those briefly as well. Frozen red meat supplies were 1% higher than last month, but down 3% from a year ago. Beef up 1% from July, up 1% from a year ago. Pork, though, up 1% from July, but down 7% from a year ago. And Dewey, as you mentioned, the poultry, we do have supplies 4% higher than a year ago for the total frozen poultry. It's down from July by that much, too, though. Frozen chicken down 6% from July, down 1% from 2015. Turkey, though, unchanged from July and up 11% from last year. That was a pretty good jump from a year ago on the turkey supplies. So with all those numbers that the trade has to factor in here this morning, let's see how the futures are opening. And the first look at our live cattle trade will bring up the board. And right now, October is down 88 cents at 106.40. And we have December live cattle down 87 at 105.98. Now on the feeder side, we'll switch over there. We have the October contract down $1.06 in the early going today at 131.32. November down 90 cents at 128.82. So Dewey, is that as you expected this morning, or a little bit weaker than maybe you thought we would see?
No, I kind of thought we'd see the market down about $1 here. I mean, when you look at the way the numbers came in as far as placements are concerned. And also, too, we have some weakness in the financial markets. You got your Dow down about 130 points here, and I think that's being a little bit of a factor as well.
So do you think the fact that the market rallied so hard off of its lows on Friday ahead of that report, do you think that weighed in there where they thought maybe they factored in a little bit too much bullishness right before the report came out and they're giving part of that back?
Yeah, I think that the trade got just a little bit too rambunctious here, and I think what we're going to be looking at over the next week, possibly a little longer, you're just going to see a little period of consolidation develop here as far as the cattle and the meat market is concerned. I do think hogs are trying to search for a bottom, but as far as the beef, I think it's going to go into a little bit of a trade range.
Well, and the cash cattle trade last Friday was down 1 to 4 cents, depending on how you look at it. Let's take a look at that lean hog trade. Boy, once again, Dewey, real boring trade in the early going here this morning, just almost treading water. The October lean hogs up 2 ticks, 5 cents higher at 54.05. December down 2 ticks, 5 lower at 48.85. Extremely quiet trade here in the lean hog market this morning. So it seems like the cold storage report didn't have much impact at all here.
Yeah, that's exactly right, but we went down and set a new low. We got a narrow range here, and as you said, it looks like the trade is asleep, so they better pay attention.
All right, so I appreciate the comments on the trade as we get off and running here for the first full trading session of this week. And it's the first full week of fall, too, I might add. So, Dewey, I wish you all the best and hope you have a great week trading out there.
Thanks a lot.
Dewey Strickler with AgWatch Market Advisors in Franklin, Kentucky.